Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be with you again. I'm just setting up my view here. I'm sorry. Take me a second. Okay. Hello, everybody. And it's exciting to be with you. No, I still don't see everybody. One second. I just want to be able to see everybody. Let me see how I can see everybody. Wonder if I can't. Nope. Okay. I'm going to set it up differently so that I can, yes, see everybody. All right. Hi. And today we're going to be talking about Parshas Korach in the Mishnah of Reb Asher. And just to start with, Reb Asher on Parshas Korach, even though it's not exactly the topic that we're going to be talking about today, is I just heard Rav Melech Biederman, saying, giving over an anecdote about Reb Asher Freund, that once one of his Chaverim, one of his Talmidim, came to Reb Asher and said that he got stuck in a financial situation with somebody where this other person owes him a lot of money. And Reb Asher asked him, should I go to Beis Din, put in the effort to take him to Beis Din because he's owed a lot of money, or should he just forget the whole thing and be mavata on all the money? Reb Asher said to him, he should forget all the claims, close up, and right now decide that he's not taking any part in the machlekes. So he said, why? He said, if you have a choice between getting into a fight with somebody or running into the street where there's a massive truck coming your way, like jumping into the street in front of a speeding truck, he said, jump into the street in front of a speeding truck rather than go into a machlekes, rather than going into a fight with somebody. He said, because a truck has brakes and a machlekes doesn't have any brakes. So that doesn't mean that if somebody's coming at us with a machlekes, that we shouldn't try and navigate out of it the best way that we can. But starting a machlekes, right, activating a machlekes, Reb Asher says, sooner jump in front of a speeding truck rather than doing that. So that's just an interesting perspective from Reb Asher. So he was talking about Korach, and Reb Asher brings a similarity between Korach and Amalek. He says the hardest situation of when a person does averas is when a person does averas and influences other people to do averas. Throughout our history, the worst situations have been caused by those who are machties rabim, those who cause the people to do averas. Yeravam ben Nevat, whose name has gone down in history as exactly a chayte umachties rabim. He was a sinner who led other people to sin, and his name has gone down infamously in history as such a person who did averas and also led other people to do averas. And as we've mentioned before, and as Be'ez Hashem will mention again, it's important that we mention at this juncture that on the pasuk that it says in Chumash, Aisa Chesed la'alofim, Rashi says over there that Mida Toiva Meruba al Midas Piranios Achas al Chamesh Me'ot. That the Mida of judgment, if the Mida of judgment is one, meaning the way that a Kodesh Baruch interacts with us, a Kodesh Baruch has a Mida of judgment, has an attribute of justice. That if we take that attribute of justice to the power of one, then in comparison with that, the attribute of rachamim, of kindness, of loving kindness, is 500 to that one. So on the side of kedusha, when it comes to holiness, lahavdil, between the side of tuma, when it comes to kedusha, the power is going to be 500 times more. So when a person is chayta for himself and also is a bad influence on other people, that's 1 degree, okay? But when a person does mitzvahs and influences other people to do mitzvahs, that's 500 times the power. So Kodesh Baruch Hu teaches us the negative in order to teach us the positive. That when we influence another person to do a mitzvah, the merit that accrues to us is 500 times. Rav Noach Weinberg Zatzal, the Rosh Yeshiva of Esha Torah, would frequently quote the Mishnah and the Gemaras about Reb Chia and about being mezakes arabim, that the greatest schar in the next world is given to the mezakes arabim. That's the opposite of the machtis arabim. So machtis arabim is one who influences others to do averis, but the machazikes arabim, the one who is mezakes arabim, the one who influences other people to do mitzvahs, their schar is nitzchi and goes on and on and on. Because it doesn't only not take down from the merit of the person that does the mitzvah. A person who does a mitzvah, even if the other influenced by other people to do the mitzvah, doesn't take down from their own schar, they did the mitzvah. But their mitzvah accrues also to whoever influenced them to do their mitzvah. And whoever influenced that influencer to do the mitzvahs is going to accrue to them. It's the greatest pyramid scheme in history that doesn't take away from anybody, but only keeps on giving. And that's on the side of Kedusha. And then Rav Asher goes on to give us a glimpse into the world of souls and connections. He says like this: there's a tzaddik, and he's a tzaddik just for himself, as we call a tzaddik in pelts. A tzaddik who keeps himself warm in his own fur coat. It's not a bad thing, but he keeps his righteousness to himself, and he does his own mitzvahs for himself, and he doesn't concern himself with influencing other people and giving from his righteousness to others. That's not what he spends his time doing, and that's not what his internal concern is about. And then you have a tzaddik that the main thing that he's concerned with is influencing and giving out, and that his deeds should have an effect on other people. That's his main concern. And he's a tzaddik because they're both tzaddikim. They're both the different kinds of tzaddikim. A person could be a tzaddik, and his concern is for his own mitzvahs and his own olam haba and his own relation with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and that's completely valid. And you have the tzaddik whose main concern is with Klal Yisrael, is to be mezakeh the rabbim, is to give to other people, and that's also valid. But yesh tzaddik oilam, and then you have a global tzaddik, as he's called in the Sifrei Chasidus, a neshama klalis. This is a soul that is a soul that contains within it other souls. That his soul is rooted and is lit up from the neshamas of all Klal Yisrael. That he draws his sustenance from the root of Klal Yisrael, of the Klal, of Klal Yisrael Kulai, and he draws his strength from them, and he returns back strength and influence to the Klal. So it's a different kind of tzaddik. Certainly, he was giving us a glimpse into who he was himself, that this kind of neshama that gives out and is so involved in Klal Yisrael. He was such a major hashpah and such a tzaddik of the kind that wasn't seen in his generation, that even people in his generation were astonished at the things that he could see, the things that he could affect in heaven. Certainly, he was this kind of neshama klalis, that he was connected deeply to the souls of Klal Yisrael. And then going back to the tzad hatuma, to the side of impurity, you have a Rasha who sins for himself. He has his own Yetzer Hara. He does various for himself, and he says, he's not interested in influencing other people to do averas. And he says this kind of Rasha, we could tolerate such a Rasha. So he's busy with his own Yetzer Hara. He's not trying to influence other people to do bad. He's busy in his own corner with his own narishkeit and his own averas, but he's not going to spoil the rest of Klal Yisrael. We hope that one day he's going to do tshuva, but in the meantime, we could tolerate him because he's not having a bad influence. But then you have a Russia that his whole desire, his whole aspiration throughout his life is just to make other people do averas and to uproot imuna from the hearts of Klal Yisrael. These are those who were the Talmidim of Yerovam ben Nevat, that he was busy fighting his whole life to take up, to uproot Emunah from Klal Yisrael. Amalek, says Reb Asher, he was the symbol of evil and the symbol of lighting hatred of Klal Yisrael and hatred of Emunah till this very day. How right his words are that were written, and he passed away, Reb Asher, but maybe it was 20 years ago. But till this very day, Amalek was the Aviav. He was the great grandfather of evil and lighting hatred against Klal Yisrael. He was a chayter, vehechti neged Yisrael, and he was a sinner, and he drew to sin all of the nations around as much as he could. As Chazal liken him to that which jumped into a boiling bath. At that time, Klal Yisrael was at its zenith. Klal Yisrael, the whole world had heard about the miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu performed for Klal Yisrael with Yetzias Mitzrayim. Rachav and Yisro heard about Yetzias Mitzrayim and Kriyas Yamsuf, and they heard about the miracles, and the whole world heard about them because everybody heard about what's going on, and there was an awe. The whole nations were awestruck about the miracles that had not been seen like that at all. The last 2 weeks we were talking about how these miracles affected Klal Yisrael and the kinds of nisyonos that Klal Yisrael had. Now we're talking about how it affected the goyim around. They were in awe, and there was a kind of a boiling tub around Klal Yisrael. There was a hub of energy and inspiration and awe surrounding the place. There was an aura of yiras haroimamus, of tremendous awe of the power and glory and grandeur of Klal Yisrael that filled the hearts of the nations around. And everybody was fearful of approaching until Amalek jumped in and attacked the nation. That was their whole purpose. They didn't really stand to gain anything. Again, just like Iran of today. What did they stand to gain from putting all of their resources into trying to wipe out a nation, arguably less than a tenth of their size, and risking their whole nation and the stability of their economy for doing that? What did Amalek have to gain? They could have had a nice life. What did they have to gain? But no, they were all out to attack Klal Yisrael, and even though they got burned in the process, they jumped into that boiling tub in order to cool it down so that other people could come and attack on their heels. Until they had attacked and jumped in, all the nations were just in awe. But then as soon as they jumped in, other people could jump in as well. And this, one second. And this, so how does Reb Asher describe this? What is the midah that Amalek embodied? He said they had the midah of leitzonis. They could minimize something, okay? Ridiculing something and minimizing it. Let's listen very carefully to the words of Reb Asher over here. They wanted to make Klal Yisrael small, to take away their standing, to make them like nothing. That was what Amalek did. And that's what he calls leitzonis. Even though you might, it could be more accurately probably translated as mockery, okay? But what does mockery do? When we mock something, we make it small. We invalidate it. And we make it into we make it into something that no one has any awe for anymore. We make it like, well, what is it? We're just going to laugh at it. That's what Amalek did to Klal Yisrael. And Chazal in the Medrash tell about the all the kinds of really wicked and evil things that Amalek did to Klal Yisrael in order to make them a laughing stock in the world. Very, very important meter to understand this late sonus, because even to this day, we have people around us with this meter of Amalek, this meter of attacking through mockery, of laughing at people, of mimicking and making people small and taking away their dignity through mockery. Okay, this is the meter of Amalek. The Baal HaTurim on the Parsha likens Amalek to Korach. He says that was the meter of Korach. Korach was a lates. Korach was a mocker. Korach brought down through laughing and minimizing. Well, we have a whole room full of sparring. What do I need a mezuzah? We have a whole clothing full of techeles, full of turquoise. What do I need a little thread? Mocking, laughing, minimizing. That trait is poison. That's the trait of Korach. That's the trait of Amalek. And that's the trait of Iran, Yamach Shamam, and all of those like them. The Torah calls Korach HaChatoim, the Torah of Chatoim. They are Avaryanim. Korach also was he used the power of minimizing and mockery. And he, I'm looking for the English word sometimes when I'm just thinking in Hebrew for a while. He was medabik. It's something is if something is oh my gosh, if a flu is, oh, the word has escaped me completely now. And I can't even access the chat, so that one of you can help me. 1 second, let me find the chat. I know one of you is writing the chat already. What's the word I'm looking for? If something is if someone has a no one's writing for me. What is this word that I'm looking for? What?
Contagious.
Contagious. Thank you very much. Okay, there we go. Yes, if something is contagious. So he could not. You don't write he was contagious, but he. What's the word I'm looking for? So it wasn't that he contaged everybody, but he influenced everybody. He was mad big guy. He made everybody stuck with this Leitzanis. He influenced everybody to join him in his mockery of Moshe Rabbeinu. Chas v'shalom. He made a mockery of Klal Yisrael. He made a mockery of Moshe Rabbeinu. He made a mockery of the mitzvahs. He pretended he was only mocking Moshe Rabbeinu, but he was making a mockery of the Torah and made a mockery of the mitzvahs, because that is the nature of a late. That's the nature of somebody who comes to mock. It's like a fire that ignites a little piece of straw, and then the whole forest can burn down. So let's understand more about how that relates to what was going on today. I don't know how many of you heard about the incredible story of one of the spies that was actually in the Mossad and giving over information that was that led to so many miracles. The Kodesh Baruch Hu did all the miracles, okay? And again, we just have to remember from the beginning till the end that nothing happens without HaKadosh Baruch Hu deciding, and only HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that decides everything. And the first Ani Mamin is Ani Mamin B'Emun Shalem Shekadosh Shabayra Baruch Hu Rishon V'Hu Acharei, and Shehu Bayris Baruch Shemay. 1 second. Hu Levadai Asa Oise V'Yaseh L'Kol HaMaisim. He alone did, does, and will do everything. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu does everything. So no one else can do anything. And all of the Nisim, they were all only HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu utilized the Mesiras Nefesh and the Midos of people down here as vehicles. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Mezakeh the Zakai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes Shalichim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu chooses who are going to be his Shalichim in the miracles that he chooses to do. And he brings about tragedy through those who never chose to be a vehicle for tragedy. Kodesh Baruch Hu brings about good through the people who want to do good. There was a Mossad agent, and her name was Catherine Peretz Shakdam. And she wasn't a religious Jewish woman, but she was a woman who had some challenges in her life, and she made some mistakes, and she decided that one way that she could make up was devoting her life to spying within Iran for the Mossad. And it's not surprising to find out that there was a woman behind what was going. It's not surprising that there was a Jewish woman behind it. And again, she wasn't religious. I'm not praising somebody who's not religious, but even a person who's not religious can have Mesiras Nefesh for Klal Yisrael. And Kodesh Baruch Hu gave her the schus, for whatever reason. Kodesh Baruch Hu chose to give her the schus of being a vehicle for bringing about incredible miracles, of being part of the vehicle. I'm not going to tell her whole story. You can look it up if you like. It's fascinating to read about her. But at one point, she was in a meeting with the elites of Tehran, and she had a meeting with the leader, Khamenei. I've forgotten how. Everyone keeps on telling me that I'm pronouncing it wrong. Again, I'm not a political buff at all, in no way, and I'm very not up. And it's not my job. That's not my purpose in this world. Is to find out everything about politics. But she met with him, and she had a meeting. And in this meeting, this leader who's still alive in Iran, okay, they brought to this meeting a representative of Putin, and the leader of Hamas, and the leader of the Houthim, and the leader of Hezbollah, Yimach Shemam V'Zichram, all of them. And he was talking about how there's no such thing as an innocent Jew, that every Jew is not innocent, and so every Jew is a target, and doing exactly what Amalek did back then, to minimize the power of Klal Yisrael, to minimize who we are, to take away the aura of awe from Klal Yisrael. And she was privy to the secrets that were going on, and she was able to find out and earn the trust of the wives of the greatest generals, of the wives of the greatest scientists. And when those calculated executions took place, where these people were targeted, it was because she, over the course of years, was giving over the secret information so that they could be wiped out in one night. The most dangerous time, arguably, was the first hours, where when they knew what was going on, that they would just go and push some deadly button. And due to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's miraculous placing her where he placed her, and due to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's miraculously being Sovev, Kol HaSovevim, organizing all of the causes so that she had access to all of this information, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Klal Yisrael, through those shlichim, the capacity to target and eliminate all of those people who had jumped into the tub of boiling water that this terrible leader, may he rot, and may his reign end as soon as possible. I'm not even mentioning his name because I don't remember how to pronounce it, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help that he will soon be a thing of history. But all of those people that sat with him, interestingly enough, okay, Putin excused himself and didn't come to his aid, saying that, well, Israel is almost like a Russian country at this point, because there are 2 million Russians who are, and how many thousands of Russians there are, Russian speakers in Israel. So basically, Israel is like a satellite of Russia. So he got himself out of supporting him. Hezbollah was already taken out of the game. The Houthim were already taken out of the game. But this person who's sitting at the head of the revolution in Iran, just like Amalek, his great grandfather, just like he tried to get all of the nations to be Mahdi es Ha'amim, to bring the nations to sin. That's what Amalek tried to do. That's what he was trying to do as well. He was trying to bring all of the nations together to bring down Chalil V'chas, the enemies of Klal Yisrael. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu turned their plans on their head, and all of the nations that they wanted to rely on to turn against us were turned against them. They had no one to support them, and he stands alone. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu will bring him down as well. Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to bring him down. Just like Kodesh Baruch Hu left Paroi alive for his own reasons, so Kodesh Baruch Hu has chosen to leave this particular Russia alive. But it's incredible, the echoes of history that we see here, that the exact same, the ancestor, his act of invalidating and mocking, the mockery of Iran is so it's so characteristic of how we got the last word. I mean, they're lying and they're making up all kinds of pretenses and all kinds of stories in their head, and their narrative is just a joke. Just like any lakes, anyone who is mocking Klal Yisrael and mocks the Torah makes up their own narrative. And so this characteristic was of Amalek. This characteristic is of Iran today. And this is the characteristic of Korach. And this is the characteristic of anybody who is trying to bring somebody else down. First of all, they try and break their dignity, and they try and break the holiness and the aura and the Siyata D'Shmaya that hovers around that person. And one of the only ways that they can do that is through mockery. So let's just keep our ears and eyes open whenever we see someone mocking holiness, or mocking a person, or mocking some kind of good behavior. Let's understand that they're trying to undermine, they're trying to get away with they're trying to build themselves up at the expense of another. This is the midah of Korach V'Hadassah, and this is the midah of Amalek. This is the midah of Iran Yimach Shemam. Let's do our best to stay away from this. And now let's just have another little meander into the world of souls that Reb Asher opened up for us in his conversation today, telling us that the souls of the wicked people, here they are here, and they're chayte umachtis arabim. Amalek didn't only do Averis for himself, but he was busy trying to gather all the other nations. Iran wasn't happy to just be an enemy of all that is holy himself. He wanted to gather all the nations together, and the one of the evil brainstormers, he said, I want there to be a ring of fire around the Holy Land. They would have to go through this whole ring of Iraq and Iran and the Houthim and Hezbollah and Syria. And they wanted it to be this massive ring of fire. And when you think Derech HaTeva, it would have worked, Chalila. Derech HaTeva, it all was all set up. But the Derech HaTevaniks, those that go with the way that the things look, they don't reckon on the incredible nisim and niflais, the miracles that Kodesh Baruch Hu does for Klal Yisrael. And the modern day mocker and scoffer doesn't reckon on the Siyata D'Shmaya that a holy soul is going to have, even in the face of mockery and even in the face of the invalidation that they will send towards them. It's important to tune into the soul truth of what goes on, and to understand that the HaKadosh Baruch Hu has placed tzaddikim in every generation. There are tzaddikim who are more private, personal, they have their own avoda, and they may be hidden from the public eye. And again, their main focus is their own personal mitzvahs. And then you have the tzaddikim whose job is to be mashpia on other people and give over influence. And then you have those like Reb Asher in his generation, whose soul is a neshama klalis, who gives out, whose light was received from Klal Yisrael, and who he gives out. The more we tune into the spiritual reality and connect ourselves spiritually to tzaddikim, the more that we do this, the more we will become spiritual, tuned into our own neshamas. And so in Eov, the Malbim says on chapter 32, Pasuk Ches, Pasuk 8, The Malbim says on this, Ochein, Ruach hi be'enosh. There is a spirit within mankind. V'nishmas shakai tavinem. And the soul that HaKadosh Baruch has placed within each and every person, tavinem, will give understanding, will bestow us with understanding from our own souls. No, so that's the pasuk. That's the pasuk in Eov. Is Ochein Ruach hi be'enosh. There's a spirit within mankind, and the soul of HaKadosh Baruch Hu informs him. That's the pasuk in chapter 32, verse 8 in Eov. And Rashi says on the pasuk, what does it mean, Ruach? What does it mean there's a spirit within mankind? Chochmah. There's a spirit of wisdom within mankind. And it doesn't come through experience or old age, but it's the Ruach HaMakaimahu. It's the spirit of HaKadosh Baruch Hu within us. And the Malbim, this is the Malbim here. Malbim says, I see you don't acquire wisdom from your senses or your experience, but the knowledge of understanding is hidden in the spirit of man. There exists inherent truths within man in his godly spirit. They are his inheritance from the root of his soul. And even one young in days draws water from the source of his spirit with Hashem's spirit upon him. And the Malbim continues, I saw the spirit within man is noble from high, implanted within him from the source of his soul. And this soul that is a piece of the one above influences, bestows understanding on man. And with it, he understands truths and reaches conclusions. What I wanted us to understand from this is that we have within ourselves, all of us have a soul. And not only is this soul the essential part of who we are, but it communicates with us. It bestows wisdom within us. It can even give us understanding and guidance. We have a precious piece of HaKadosh Baruch Hu within us always. And the more that we connect to that part within us, the more we connect to the Shekhinah, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and to our own truths, and to our own path in life, and to the tzaddikim with whom we can resonate. That if we want to know, so who's the tzaddik klalis, the neshama klalis that I can attach to, that I can receive from, we can do that through our souls. We can find who that neshama is that we can attach to. Somebody once came to the Chibina Rav and said, I have such a big problem right now. I don't know what to do. And the Chibina said to him, you do know what to do. Just listen inside, and you will be guided. Rav Yitzchak Kerzner itself said that David HaMelech was running away from Shaul. We know the story that his men were with him in the cave, and David entered the cave. Shaul entered the cave where David and his men were hiding. And David's men said to him, now is your chance. Kill Shaul. He's been chasing you. And David said, I don't know. I don't know if it's the right moment, but he went along and he sliced a little bit of the robe of Shaul. And right away, he felt, no, I cannot do this. And I cannot stretch my hand against the king's anointed. He felt that it was the wrong thing to do. His soul told him. And Rav Kerzner said, everybody has that kind of inner barometer. Not only David and Melech. We might say, okay, well, David and Melech, of course he did. But Rav Kerzner says, no, every one of us has within us a barometer. It's our soul. And from within our souls, we have a connection to guidance within ourselves. Every one of us has this. And Rav Asher himself said, towards the end of his life, people said to him, who are you leaving us with? What can we do? How are we going to get guidance? And Rav Asher said, just listen in. When you have a question, listen to the first voice that comes up within you. That's your answer. That's what I do, he said. It's just the first voice that comes within you. He said, of course, you have to do the work so that you're not influenced by your Yetzer Hara. And so that's our job, is learning how to recognize our own Yetzer Hara, how to separate the voice of the Yetzer Hara in our mind from the voice of the intuition. That takes work. It takes deep contemplation. It takes taking time with ourselves. It takes getting to know ourselves. It takes being able to kind of isolate the various voices and learning the inner landscape, which takes time, which takes patience, which takes attention and attunement. But there's a payoff, is that the more attuned we get, the more we will have access to that inner voice that will guide us. Just the other day, I have, I have an account where I have dollars and I have an account where I have shekels. And usually when the dollars come in, I transfer them right away into the shekel account. And for whatever reason, a voice said, leave some dollars in the dollar account. And just the next day, I had an expense that I needed to pay in dollars. And I said, thank you, Rebbeinu Shalom, that I listened to that voice inside myself. And usually, if I ignore that voice and go without it, I'm usually going to regret it. I have that voice and okay, I'm going to listen. But it's not me. Everybody can do that if we take the time to tune ourselves to our inner voice. It's our neshama inside ourselves. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given to us, each and every one of us, that gift. And Rav Asher said, each one of us has that capacity to tune in. And so if he tells us that, we can do it. Be'ezah Hashem. I'm going to just open the chat if I can here now. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm seeing the chat. If anybody wants to just write anything in the chat, if anyone wants to unmute themselves and add anything before we finish today. I don't want to take any more time of yours, and I hope that was I was inspired by that. I was inspired that Davka, this Parsha, something so relevant comes in. Yeah, you'd like to mute yourself? Here, go ahead. I want to hear from you.
Okay. Hi, it's Sarah Leah. Thank you so much.
Hi. Thank you, Sarah Leah. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for speaking up. I love to hear from you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
My pleasure.
In the chat. Okay.
Thank you.
Great to hear from you. Thank you. Yes, something else?
So I was listening.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Am I interrupting someone? Is someone else trying to speak?
No, it's you. I'm waiting to hear from you. Go ahead. Yes.
Oh, it's me. I'm hearing the echo. Okay. So I wanted to share that yesterday I was listening to, there's someone, Rabbi Golumbek, who has a bitachon, like a hotline. It's 10 minutes a day, and it's excellent. And he was saying that in the Ukraine, they got the Iron Dome, and they tried it, and 50% of the missiles were caught, but 50% went through because, he said, in Klal Yisrael, in Eretz Yisrael, we have the protection of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it wasn't just the physical piece of the Iron Dome, it was the ruchnius of how Hashem protects us. It was just so profound. Just wanted to share that.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much. That's true about Iron Dome, and how true is it about all of these other miracles upon miracles upon miracles, like miracles like sand on the beach or like stars in the sky. We had so many miracles over the last couple of weeks, and each one of those miracles could have gone wrong in so many ways. And Kadosh Baruch Hu's synchronicity and how Kadosh Baruch Hu made everything just work smoothly like clockwork. It's unbelievable, the kinds of miracles that took place. It's beyond unbelievable. It is just awe-inspiring. And if we would spend our whole days just talking about the miracles, the time would end and we wouldn't finish talking about the miracles that Kadosh Baruch Hu has just did in the last 2 weeks. Thank you for sharing that and reminding us of just again how miraculous times we're living in, that we just received these miracles. We're not talking about the times of the splitting of the sea. We're talking about today. These miracles were taking place for us. So thank you, Sarah, for mentioning that, and for Golombek's line. I really appreciate that. Yeah, Amen. I'm Yisrael Chai. Thank you so much, everybody who's here. Anybody else want to unmute and share anything? Love to hear from you.
Hi, Shai Hinda.
Just want to say thank you again.
It's great to hear your voice. Thank you. Hi, great to see your face. Thank you, everybody.
Shai Hinda, could I just say something?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt the other person if she's
finished. Yeah, that's great. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that whenever I hear you in any capacity, it reminds me of, even if I don't hear the words, you know how sometimes people don't understand Divrei Torah or they're just not following, and then they say the neshama knows, so it'll just go in. So I have the same phenomenon when I listen to you. Sometimes I'm like, if I lose focus or whatever the case may be, I just feel like hearing your voice, it just reminds me to think about Emunah and Bitachon. It's just like, it's like automatic response. Like just hearing your voice, it like plugs in It doesn't even matter what you're talking about. Just like when I hear your voice, it reminds me of like all the lessons that you taught over the years. So I just wanted to say that whenever I hear you, that's what it brings up.
You're so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. You know what? It's your work. It's the work that you did over the years, listening to the guided imagery so that you let it in, so that you created that receptive vehicle to receive the Emunah B'tachon, so that my voice now could be the trigger, but you're the one that did the work. So, shkoyach, it's you that did the work. Well done.
Oh, thank you for saying that. You're so humble.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thanks.
Okay, shkoyach. Anybody else want to chime in? I'd love to hear the voices from the community. Anybody else want to share anything or any other insights to add? Okay. I want to thank everybody for being here. Just going to miss us for giving me the opportunity. I just learned this week, Hermantik Yadaber, the base Aaron of Karlin, said that simply talking about Emunah brings Emunah. That the Hermantik Yadaber, that when we speak about Emunah, that simply talking about it. So I'd always thought that it was brought down, the Nesiv Shalom brought down in the day of the Torah's Avos of Slonim. But even before then, the base Aaron of Karlin said that. So it's just nice to hear it from another place. And thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak in Emunah, because the more we speak in Emunah, Be'ez Hashem, we will receive more Emunah. And so that's what it is here. It's simply just talking, just thinking about Emunah is going to bring us the Emunah, whoever we hear it from. So, shkoyach, thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody. May we have a miraculous week without the danger, miraculous week without the sacrifices, a miraculous week where Kadosh Baruch Hu just shines down his love and Sata Dishmaya and the Geula Shlema, a week of Achdus and a week of Simcha, and wishing everybody a beautiful, peaceful, restful Shabbos of Emunah. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.